My space, your space, your space, my space, our space. OneSpaceLove, OneSpaceLove, OneSpaceLove.
Welcome, Pat Tierney, to OneSpaceLove. How are you today?
Very well, Steph. Thanks so much for having us.
Have you done any podcasts since our first podcast last year? Because I think I was your first.
Yeah, I think it was. I'm just trying to think. I've done a few interviews and stuff, but no podcasts. So
I'm still number one.
Yeah,
number two, number one.
Number one and two.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
We don't know where we could go on a whole tangent with that.
Yeah. Very cool though. Very cool.
Yeah, no, I absolutely, I listened back to our chat, and I encourage all the listeners to go back and listen to that first chat that we shared. It was, I love all the chats I do, but what an incredible chat. I'd never met you before, and we just went so deep in our conversation, and you were so open to share. So thank you.
Yeah, it's really nice. No, thank you. That was a lot of fun. I think I listened back a few times as well, just to kind of deconstruct it all, and it was really cool. Yeah, I don't usually like to hear myself talking, but
yes. I'm the same.
Nice. Yeah.
But we flowed. It was really nice. Yeah. So what I picked up from the last chat, which was around, I feel like it was, I think we would find it was almost a year ago if we really looked into it. It feels like the same timing. You've had quite an incredible career as living as a musician, as an artist, as a songwriter. And one of the obstacles that you kept bringing up, that you kept finding, was something that you were attending to and overcoming, was self-belief. So where are you at that with self-belief at the moment?
Yeah. Great way to start. I think at that point I was really sort of in a good place. I'd overcome a lot of stuff, and I feel like now it's just kind of continued to flow, and I feel like I've definitely just kept stepping up the mountain that we all kind of climb up. So I think, when this year kicked around, it was just a good chance to take a big deep breath, set some new goals, do all that stuff you kind of do, change of years and everything. And I suppose now I'm feeling pretty content and pretty happy with where I'm at in terms of, belief and motivation and all that kind of stuff. So, excited for what this year has to bring, and just feeling ready. I think that's kind of the important part. Yeah.
Well, we're going to go into what you're focused on at the moment this year. But another thing I wanted to touch on that you talked about, that you learned the lesson of being present. And it was, I think, one of the gigs you were at with beautiful girls, and you realized it was one of those moments you'd really wanted to call in and manifest. And then once you were there, you almost missed the whole moment. So you were saying it was a process and evolution to be present, and you were practicing mindfulness. How is that going? Are you keeping up a practice?
Yeah, absolutely. It's, you sort of, I find myself coming in and out of it sometimes, but I commit to, meditation every day as a basic must do, whether it's 10, 20 minutes, whatever you can sort of find in your day-to-day stuff. But I continue to do that. And I've tried to sort of push that a little bit further. So I try to do it twice a day now, when I wake up, and then sort of when I'm going to sleep. And I've found that to be really helpful, just checking in the morning, and then at night time it's almost like just a bit of a recap, check in again. And then I find when I'm doing that consistently, along with obviously playing music, playing guitar, spending time with family, then the flow is certainly there. So it's just about sort of keeping on top of it, because sometimes you can, you might get sick for a few days, or you might go away, and it's just important to really always check in and be consistent with it. That's the most important part for me anyway. And when I'm doing that, I'm in good flow,
I know exactly what you mean.
Absolutely. Yeah.
When we also spoke, we were talking about how important it was for you to experience parenthood, and you were in a relationship. How has that been going in balancing what's been going on as a collective and balancing all of that? Because it brought you a lot of clarity being an actual parent. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think it's just something you got to. I mean, I suppose after last year, it would have been easy for to sort of just, you know, crawl into a ball or into the fetal position. And but I think, you know, when stuff happened for me last year, you know, music career, family stuff, I think it was just a matter of really owning what was happening and just really diving into the muddiness sometimes. Like, the more you resist, even when bad stuff's happening or negative things happening in your life. Last year was a great lesson because I really just embraced all the bad, negative stuff, and just really owned it. And that really helped me to like flow through it quicker and get to a point where it's, you know, you kind of feel yourself again and you feel like you can start to get back into career stuff and planning things and trying to get back to that, you know, pre kind of COVID space where, you know, you can feel like your career is kind of sustainable again and you can really start to kick some more goals and stuff. So, but yeah, it's been a testing year for, I mean, a lot of people, but like I think we talked about last time, just trying to find those little silver linings and little lessons in there, even when things are not going so well. So that's, yeah, I've been pretty stoked to flow through all that and kind of get back into some good flow this year for sure.
Finding what you're grateful for, coming back to that gratitude.
Yeah, definitely.
Because you were very much, before we spoke, you know, you toured a lot and you were supporting a lot of big acts, and that was, you know, always planning 6 months ahead. It was go, 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 wasn't it? And then this really taught you to slow down. So how are you finding that transition? I mean, I hear what you're saying. Like, now it's a matter, you still got to look at it as this is what I do. But how do you find that balance where you're not wired by what is the next 6-12 months look like? You know, you're able to find more of a flow.
Yeah, I think I'm still floating a little bit in that sense, because I resisted planning anything at all, really. I would kind of, you know, after last year, and then I thought I'm just going to not plan too much, and when gigs, shows, offers come, then I'll kind of go with it. And that's been a kind of good process, just to step back and allow that stuff to come in rather than kind of chasing it too much. And it's funny, now I'm feeling that push or that energy again.
Yep.
I think I felt it about a month or two ago, because I started working on new music, and that spark or that energy, I felt it come back, and I was like, oh, it was good. But then at the same time, I was like, you know, trying not to get too far ahead with thoughts. And, you know, I want to jump back on the road. I want to start touring. I want to think about going overseas again, but there's obviously still some obstacles and barriers there. So it's an interesting space to kind of be in at the moment.
Yeah.
It just feels, it's like a bit of a holding pattern almost. Yeah.
It's totally, I mean, I resonate with everything you're saying. Because I loved how you described it, like that robotic nature. And now it's really finding a balance, isn't it? Like, you have this drive, but it's really trying to tend to find that balance. Where I wanted to take you now, like the new music, I mean, I follow you on Instagram and I see, I mean, I loved Sweet Love, was it? An Angel we talked about last time.
My Sweet Love, yeah, Angels, yep.
But there's new music coming out. So when did this writing start coming through you? I'm going to cough.
That's okay. Yeah, I think the start of lockdown and stuff, COVID, I suppose I was constantly working on stuff week to week. And then I suppose when all that stuff kind of happened, it was a good chance to go a little bit deeper and start to bring out some more songs and things. And so I just kind of was doing about a song a week, I think, trying to. I set myself a challenge at the start of COVID, song a week, and it seemed to be okay. But
can I ask a question there? Because so My Sweet Love and Angel, very much just came straight through you.
Yeah.
Yeah. So how did you, when you set yourself this goal of one a week, how did you find that? Yeah, go. I think you were going to go there anyway, but.
I struggled with it. It was through a songwriting club type of thing. So it was a bunch of songwriters get together through an online portal, and we submit a song, listen to each other's stuff, give some feedback, all that kind of thing. I really struggled with it because it was almost like that in itself was kind of this robotic thing that I wanted to push myself a little bit, obviously. But I found through doing that it just wasn't resonating with me at all. And it wasn't my way of kind of writing and stuff. Like for me, I have to feel that energy, and it sometimes can be around for a few weeks, and I'll write 5 or 6 songs and then it's gone. And then I don't write something for 2 months, but I've always been okay with that, because I know it just comes and goes. It comes and goes. So sitting down, it was almost like a school kind of homework thing that I really was like, oh, this is weird. So the first song that I did in that club was similar to Angels and My Sweet Love, and it just 20 minutes it was written. But then every song from then on, the next 3 months, I found it really difficult to kind of tap in to that stuff. And I was still writing other songs on the side and stuff, but it's almost like I needed to do that to kind of tune in again to where I was writing wise, and realize that probably wasn't my style. But then on the other hand, I was grateful that I'd gotten that first song from the process, because then that's become
what is that
weird.
Yeah, what song's that? Was that the new one, the first single?
Yeah, so it's called Golden Lover, Silver Soul, and that was the first song from that whole club and process. So it's just a funny, ironic kind of thing that's become the new single.
So let's talk about that song. What do you think was the inspiration behind that for you?
I was living in Adelaide at the time, and it was pretty cold. It was, I'd never spent a lot of time in Adelaide, so I was probably feeling a little unsure, a little, confused with what was happening, and COVID had kind of just kicked in, and there was a homeless man that I'd see every day. I'd leave our house, go to the shops, do whatever, and I'd always just see him wandering around. And I think when I came to write that song, I started to think, how did this guy get there? What's his story? What choices has he made in life to kind of, or has he had any choices, to get to this point? And I would continually see him, he'd be in Coles, he'd be in the shops and everything. And he was always really pleasant and calm and stuff, but I'd always just see him wandering around, and it just got me thinking. And then that song just kind of came out with that in mind. But then I think, as most times I write a song, they always tend to end up coming back to you as well. So I think there's parts of me in the song about what was happening, and then maybe some stuff about this guy as well.
I watched recently the documentary, The Wisdom of Trauma, and it talks a lot about the homeless people and looking them as a soul, you know, that they're just souls that are not really process the trauma. But because I mean, the title of your track, Golden Lover, Silver Soul, just reminded me.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. I think something in that song that stuck out to me too is that I always tend to gravitate towards the natural kind of world in lyrics and stuff. There's always stuff popping up for me, about the moon and the ocean and mountains and things. So it was interesting to kind of keep exploring that stuff because it just comes out, you don't really, I don't sort of tend to sit down and think, oh, I'm going to write about this or that. It just kind of, when it's good and when it's happening, it's just coming out.
Unless you're in a songwriter club.
Yeah. And that was the thing. It was sometimes there'd be themes or ideas about, what to write about. So I found that all very interesting. But I suppose, again, like last year, it was about lessons and sort of pushing yourself out of your comfort zone, I suppose. So that's been a fun journey. Yeah.
And so how have you worked through the rest of the album now, and what are we expecting coming up? And
yeah, so I think it's been a slow process, but kind of like how I did the last album. I've just been sort of chipping away at songs and trying to get, maybe 15 to 20 rough songs, or the skeletons of the song anyway. And then, I went in with Paulie again a couple of months ago, up the studio up this way, and it was the same sort of process, which is great. Just getting in and playing, and then sort of working out what's sounding good, what's maybe not working. And I think our relationship now is quite strong and trusting. We kind of just know when to push and when to pull back. We don't really have to say too much, it's just a good kind of synergy. And that relationship's been great as well, because I saw it evolve over the recording of Red Moon, and then it's kind of just great to be at a point now where it's we both just kind of tuned into each other, musically.
Take us on a bit of a vivid, like, what's it like to be in the studio with Paulie B? Like,
yeah, it's just very relaxed. There's no sort of stress or pressure or the thought of, oh, we've got to do this, we got to do that. It all flows very well, which ties into how I like to work as well. And I think we found out or discovered early on that was our workflow. I'm sure he has different processes with other artists, but for us it was very obvious early on that we'd found a good sort of relationship in the studio, and we kind of could bounce off each other, throw ideas around. We know when someone's getting excited about something, or when someone's maybe not excited about something. So just easy, and the flow's always there, which I think is such an important part about working with someone that kind of intimately in that setting.
Completely, the flow and the trust, isn't it?
Yeah, trust is a big one too. Yeah.
Last time we were talking about, you were sort of almost looking at your life in a bird's eye view, and what was important to you was yourself, your career, your relationship. What do you stand for, and what do you want to be? Let's go there now. Like, are those topics?
Yeah, big ones, big life ones. I think it's all flowed from there. Like, I think for me now it's just a matter of sort of checking in with those things consistently. I suppose last year it was easy to feel like you were just floating in the darkness a bit, or out of control of maybe some of those elements or those things. But I think this year's, been really, really good for me personally. Like I've just been open, for one of the first times in my life, I think, where it was like, I'm here, I'm open, just open to what's going to happen, rather than trying to dictate too much about how life should be or how it should go. So that's been a pretty good feeling, just to kind of own that and just be vulnerable, be open, be aware, and just I think that answers or gets somewhere in there. Yeah.
Well, you grew up with your mum working in Indigenous communities in the health sector, wasn't it? Working.
Yeah.
And so that was a really important element for you, that you wanted to be able to weave into your work.
Yeah.
Do you find you've had the space to see, or you're just sort of letting that unfold at the moment?
Yeah, I think it's always been something I've done without even thinking about it too much, I suppose. But I suppose in the last 12 months, culturally and socially, a lot of that stuff's obviously brewed and risen up to be at the forefront a bit more. So I think it's, it's important for me, and I mean for everyone, just to keep consistent with that, I think, rather than jumping on when it's, time, like, I suppose just keep turning up, and that's something I've always try to tell people, like, it's great to be a part of these big pushes and movements when it's usually when things have gone wrong, which is kind of bad, but just keep turning up.
Integrate it in all of your life.
Yeah, exactly. If it's something you resonate with, you're passionate with, that's something that you want to, talk about with people, just keep turning up, keep it consistent, keep keep doing your part, what you can do, rather than especially with social media and stuff, it's easy just to jump on bandwagons and movements. But if it's something deep down that you want to kind of talk about and push and stride towards, like, just keep turning up. And that's kind of, what we can do, as a country, I suppose, starting there, I think that's really important.
I love that you're learning how to surrender and move into the flow. What's coming to me now, is there something in the stillness that you're still dreaming up and wanting to manifest? Because last time we spoke during COVID, you got to play with Ash Grunwald, which was for the first time. And I remember you were actually finally like able to sit in it and say, I was present with it. You got to play to an intimate audience. It was like your sweet spot. It was like where you wanted to be, where people were attentive and listening.
Yeah, that was a really beautiful kind of process of manifesting it and then just feeling it and being completely present. And I remember one of the shows sitting on stage and halfway through a song and playing it, and I could literally just feel my body kind of tingling, and like I was like, this is where I'm supposed to be right now, like at one of those moments. And so I think, going forward, it's like trying to tap into those that energy in those moments. And my biggest goal, I think, is still to get overseas, to Europe and North American stuff, and really put a lot of energy into that, touring and tapping into that market and that. So, which is, we'll just see how this year kind of shakes out, because it's sort of hard to know when that might be possible or and stuff. But yeah, that's probably my biggest goal at the moment, is to really push into those areas.
Is there an artist that you strive to work alongside on the European American front more than an Australian? Yeah.
Yeah, I think because when we spoke, I'd been to the seed workshop with
John Butler,
John and Danny. So I think John's definitely someone that would sort of jump out to be a dream kind of tour across those places. And potentially someone like Xavier Rudd or one of those guys, I think, because when I was first growing up and getting into music, those were the guys that were really kind of shining the light, along with Ben Harper and stuff. So I think being able to play with one of those guys or touring would be a absolute dream.
I would be very happy to see you playing with any of them. I saw a beautiful clip of you and John Butler, and the song you sang was just absolutely sang to my heart, but I can't remember the name of it. It was on YouTube. Maybe there's lots of them, but you were.
I think it's Crazy Dreams. It's
called. Is that a song that is that one of your songs off Red Moon?
Yeah. So that was a pretty crazy moment. It was part of that workshop, and then one of the nights it just was a big open mic, basically jam night kind of thing, So there was about 20 songwriters there, and we all crammed into this beautiful little room where we were staying, and 50 or 60 people in the room, and everyone just kind of got up and took turns about talking and playing some songs and stuff. And I played one of my songs, and then Carlo, who works with those guys too.
And Natalie Rise as well.
Yeah. He kind of came over and whispered to me, just stay up on stage. And then luckily John had his slide guitar at the workshop as well. And I was kind of like, whoa, totally unexpected, And
you seemed surprised in the video. Like it took you a moment and then you dropped into it. And that's when I think the sweet spot. Yeah.
I think there was just a minute or two there where I was sort of like
out of body.
This is happening. Like, and I suppose I should have expected it because he was there and we were, but it just kind of hit me. And then I think once I started playing the song, I was like, and strangely, the song kind of perfectly summed up that week because there was all these kind of emerging songwriters there, striving and chasing this passion of theirs that that they've put so many hours and blood and sweat and tears into. And I remember singing the opening line, "Don't give up on your crazy dreams." And I just remember hearing this collective, like, sort of like, not a sigh, but like wow. And it was just in that one line, and I was like, another one of those moments where it was like, this is exactly where I'm supposed to be. Moments, and it was just like, and then seeing that song, it just felt, the timing and the it was just crazy.
It was crazy.
It was crazy.
It was a crazy dream.
Yeah, and then just something I dreamed about as when I was younger. Was playing slide guitar with some of my heroes. So, and then I was playing a line and then looking over at John,
and John going off on the slide guitar.
Yeah, and I was just like, what is happening? Just one of those moments where you're like, I'm so grateful and just humbled to be here. It was just such an amazing experience.
Sorry, go.
Oh, sorry. Just afterwards, just floating, just walking around for like 2 hours, just like, sharing a red wine and just floating and just like, whoa.
Well, I felt it when I watched it. I will share the video for the listeners.
Yeah.
Let's touch a little bit more on the Seed project. Like, where is that in your timeline, and how did you get into that, and how did you find working with all of the team?
Yeah, so that was early March. So whilst we were there, 2020, early March.
It was in 2020.
The Corona stuff had just sort of, we were hearing some whispers, and but I think everyone there just thought it was going to be like the ones from years ago, like it sort of comes for a week or two and then it just fades off. So no one really thought twice about it. And we were so locked into kind of what we were doing, we just weren't really paying too much attention. But, you know, I'd applied over the years. And then I remember the year before, I thought I was in, like I just was like, oh, I've got it. And then you know, there's a lot of people that obviously go for it. So I remember getting unfortunately this year, you're not, you know, and I was so devastated. I was like, for about a week, I was like, oh no. And then when I applied for this one, I remember just applying and just being really free about it, sending off the application and just being really content with, you know, if I get in, I get in. If I don't, I don't. It's about timing and it's about there's other elements at work, I suppose. And then I just didn't think much about it for a while. And then months later, you know, the email came in, you've been invited or accepted. And I remember sort of, I was excited, but I was also just like, yeah, of course. Like, it was just like a really nice, the time's right. I was like, yeah, sweet, perfect. And I think that helped when I went in, because I was just very relaxed and very, you know, grateful to be there. And I remember just being so present there as well. I'd never really gone into something like that musically anyway. Like it was almost like a little camp, you know, for a week. And coming together with like 25 strangers that you've never met before can sometimes be a little bit daunting.
Is there anyone that you met that you know is doing really well with music wise at the moment that you?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's where I met Nat Carey.
That's what I thought. I'm just letting you say it.
we kind of just the first day, I think, just kind of energetically just ended up kind of together, and that was really nice. And she kind of became just a good buddy to have at the camp to check in with each day, and like and there was a few of us like that, and 3 or 4 of us, and throughout the week or towards the end of the week, we all found out that it became obvious that we were all from the similar area, which was really interesting. So it was myself, Nat, Kyle Lionheart was there.
Amazing.
And a couple of others that we just naturally ended up always in a group. And then at the end of the week, we're kind of like thinking about it, like we're all from like Northern Rivers, Southeast Queensland, like there's something going on there, you know, just, and I suppose it's just energetically we were in similar spots and stuff, but yeah, it was an incredible week. Like it just inspiring, you know, really pushed everyone to the brink in a good way, just dived really deep into, you know, career and personal kind of, and whilst we were there, we kind of realized it wasn't so much about the music. It was more about, you know, personal growth, mental health. That was kind of the biggest thing that came out of that week. And I think it changes every year for them, you know, it's not always, they kind of let the people that come sort of dictate where it's going to go rather than being too forceful about stuff, which I found really, really beautiful. So by the end of the week, it kind of had its own flavor and its own character that they talked about as well, that happens each year, which I think is really, really special. Yeah.
Two incredible, well, the whole team, incredible souls that they've created the Seed project.
Yeah, absolutely. And like Carlo was someone that I gravitated to straight away as well. Just a very calm, peaceful kind of soul, you know, but so switched on.
Business wise, like, music industry, business wise,
so inspiring to see. And I think, you know, meeting all the artists there and some of the managers and stuff, you know, we still keep in touch pretty frequently, which I suppose is, you know, what John and Denny and the whole crew have have created
a music family.
This family just grows and grows and grows, you know, each year, and spreads around the country, and connects people, you know, for a lifetime. So it's, I got home after it, and I was just floating, but ready to take on the world. Literally, I had the Canadian American tours booked, and I was like, this is the perfect little stepping stone,
launching pad.
And then within a week, it was like COVID lockdowns, like by mid-March, I think.
Flatline.
Yeah. And it was just like, whoa, like just mind-blowing, because everyone there had tours booked, albums to release, like ready to go. And then it was just the universe. And then looking back, it's like, I'm so grateful that we squeezed that in, because if it had been 2 weeks later, we wouldn't have been able to do it. So just finding that gratitude that we at least got to do it.
Completely. I mean, even with Nat, I mean, look at, you know, just the album that the project she was going to launch, and the touring and all of that coming to a halt. Yeah. I think that, you know, in saying that, it feels like you were exactly where you were meant to be to doing that course. And the pause that you've had has enabled you to really get strong on what the next step is, you know, come from that really grounded place.
Yeah, absolutely. I think, that was honestly one of the musical highlights of my life, just being able to go there and just get some kind of clarity and just be in a room with that many other people striving towards the same kind of thing. It's really powerful stuff that I'd never really musically experienced before. And I remember leaving just with a spark. There was electricity running through me. I could feel it. And I know people around me could feel it. Like after I got back, like, whoa, like you're different in a good way. You know, it was like, yeah, I'm ready. I'm here.
Do you think it's because you felt like you had been seen in, you know, you had this vision since such a young age when you saw Ben Harper, and people have to go back and listen to the first chat, because we're not going to tell you the whole story, but, you know, seeing Ben Harper and then getting your dad to make the slide guitar out of your guitar. You know, perhaps there was moments, which we know that there was, of self-doubt, going, am I on the right path? Am I actually able to sit in being a performing musician? And perhaps being in this gathering of like-minded creative souls, you were able to sit in it and be seen.
Yeah, absolutely. There was definitely some validation and being seen, for sure. And that's something that I remember just taking away with me, was like, you know, I felt a part of something bigger than me on a deeper level than just, you know, what I'd usually experienced. It was so strong. It was just like, you know, I get that when I'm playing, when I'm writing and performing and meeting people, but this was just on another level. And I think just the energy and the space there allowed us to dive so deeply into that, and just being so present and open there was powerful. And it, I suppose, leapfrogging on from that is like being conscious and being, you know, really mindful and aware of taking that forward since then, you know, and creating that kind of space and energy at shows as well, where people can just let go, come into your space, and then
one space.
Yeah, OneSpaceLove. That's it. And that's what it's all about, you know.
Thank you. I like that. But I've always been passionate about setting the space where the audience and the musicians can create that interaction of energy. And I think that's what it feels like you experienced in that workshop, like that constant exchange of energy. And when you have that, it's electrifying. It's energizing. It's vibration. You know, it's the power of music.
Yeah. It just made me excuse me.
That's okay.
It just made me realize even more how powerful, how you know, how connected music makes us. Because I think sometimes along the way you just need little, maybe not reminders, but just little points where you kind of, you know, you can nod your head and go, yeah, just to check in with yourself again about what you're doing. And, you know, I think for a lot of the people there, I could feel it too from them. It was like this little checkpoint of kind of validation, just a little nudge to be like, just keep doing what you're doing, you know, keep making the art that you want to make, keep writing songs, keep chasing your dreams, keep on the
crazy
path,
dreams,
keep climbing the mountain. You know, that's what it was all about.
Keep
and
climbing the mountain.
strangely after it, they said, you know, we were sort of leaving, and I remember it stuck with me because of everything that happened. I was like, you know, this, we don't know what happens next year. We don't know if we'll do this workshop again. We just never really know. And then obviously, like, yeah, within a week, the whole music industry was basically just collapsed on its knees. So it was just this complete roller coaster of like riding that high and then feeling the collective like energy of the music industry, friends, family, just completely collapsing. Was like a crazy few weeks there of emotions. Yeah.
I mean, I caught up with Danny on the Blues Fest special that I ran, and just after the news, the day after the news, the Blues Fest was cancelled, you know, and they were so looking forward to come together. Everyone I spoke to, the similar response was, we were just so looking forward to coming together with our music family and being in the same place. And exchanging that energy through, you know, the festival and the performance and collaborating with other artists on the stage. Like that was another big part that they were looking forward to. Yeah,
for sure. I think a lot of the times it's like goes beyond even the act of playing on stage and stuff. It's just like about coming together. That's for the audience, for the musicians as well, feeling like they're part of, you know, there's something bigger.
It's a very unknown time. We don't know. Yeah.
That's true. Yeah. Mysterious.
It's mysterious. I think mysterious is nicer than unknown. I like that.
Yeah.
And I love you said, I'm going to do more of what I want to do. So I think that's a beautiful segue from what you just said. Like that workshop was a real reminder to keep showing up, doing what you love, doing what you do.
Yeah. I think I've tried to take that throughout my whole career, is just write the songs you want to write, you know, do what you're doing. It might not, you know, when you release music, this was something that I remember Matt from the Beautiful Girls saying to me, because when I was touring with him, we'd sit and chat, and he said, just don't worry about the music being received right now. Just release it. It's from you. It's from your art. It's true. It might not be for right now. The music you release might be for 10 years from now for something. So just release it. It's not always going to hit. Stuff's not always going to hit straight away. And I think that was something really cool to hear. It's like so many people releasing music in this day and age, and it's all about like singles and releasing stuff that hits straight away, that gets into the charts, gets whatever, and it's all about results and stuff. And I think just hearing that from him, someone who's been in the industry and had some hits and stuff, was cool, because it was like just another good reminder to keep doing what you're doing, you know. Don't worry about the industry, don't worry about if it's gonna hit straight away. Just put it out. If it's from you and it's real and you like it, that's all that matters. Yeah. And that's kind of where I'm at now, is just like harnessing more of that energy of just, I'm going to release the songs I want to release. It might not be this big sort of thing to start with, but when you look back, you know, in 30 or 40 years, you want to be able to kind of be proud of your legacy and what you've released and the songs that you have out and stuff. So that's just where I'm at the moment, probably even on a more deeper level.
Have we got a name for the new album coming out?
Doesn't have a name yet.
Okay.
It's kind of, I think my plan is just to put a few singles out throughout the year.
Okay.
So the first one will be next month.
Golden Lover, Silver Soul is the first one coming out next month.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Next month. And then I think we'll work away at maybe putting another 1 or 2 singles out before the end of the year. And then, I think early next year, that'll be the time to get the album out. And, hopefully, fingers crossed, by that time, international touring might be a thing again.
Yeah.
Hopefully. So that's kind of the goal I'm working towards at the moment.
And I love that these are almost like little breadcrumbs of what could happen, but there's also an acceptance of, when the next single comes out, it's going to come out when it feels like I'm called to bring it out. And I think that it's important for the listeners to connect with you on social media and on your mailing list, and to stay in touch with you and stay connected with you. And that way you can get deep into Pat's story and what it is your soul shares.
Yeah, for sure. I think we mentioned that sort of last time that, when you find artists really kind of tapping into the whole story rather than jumping from singles to singles and stuff, and it's an easy thing to do, obviously, with Spotify and streaming, but I always love kind of finding artists and then just slowly kind of tapping into their story and their music, because, some artists are very eclectic and very varied and very different with the way they kind of tell their story. So sometimes you kind of, and it always comes back to Ben Harper, but for me, it's like,
it's one of my top.
Yeah.
I have
For me,
every
it's
album in a collection.
Yeah.
I've seen all his Australian shows. Well, around my area, I should say, Sydney.
Yeah. But someone like him, it's like, and that's something I strive towards, is just the varied nature of what he's able to do. And, he's got some more commercial hits, but then he's also got gospel albums. He's got blues albums. He's, it's just, there's no kind of restrictions or limits on what he's doing. So I think for me going forward, that's another goal, just to be really open with what styles I'm writing in and collaborating with people. And that's sort of another big goal this year, I think, is to kind of open that up and not be too, if it's going to be a folk song, if it's going to be a, country blues song, if it's going to be this and that, just go with it, and don't try to be anything really, just
a genre.
Yeah, for sure. I've got my kind of sound, but just being open, and that's really exciting.
I'm really excited to see how it all unfolds and continue to watch your journey. Yeah,
for sure. Yeah. I think on this album I want to explore a lot more rhythmic, sonic, more percussion, more just be open to a lot of the elements that I know Paulie brings to the table. So that's kind of cool, just pushing a little bit further onto his. I think for Red Moon we kind of met in a good place halfway in terms of like stylistically where we're coming from. So I think with this one I'm a bit more open and ready to kind of lean into his musical background a bit more too, while still obviously having my thing, but I'm just very open to that for this time around, which is cool.
That's exciting. And let's mention one or two of your favorite artists that Paulie B, because I know, but so the listeners can understand that he works with.
Yeah. So the obvious one would be Bobby Alu. And that was kind of where I first heard Paulie's production and recording and stuff. But then I think around that time I was also listening to QE a lot.
Yeah.
And Kingfisher.
Yep.
He's worked with them a fair bit. So it was all that. So it was all kind of heavy percussive, reggae, world sort of African beat influence stuff, which I've always really gravitated towards. And it's funny when like reggae music is probably one of the most listened to genres that I take in. And it's strange because when I tell people that, or people realize that, like, well, that's weird. Like, you play like this acoustic, mellow kind of melancholy folk music.
Yeah.
But I draw so much influence from reggae. It might not come out obviously or stylistically, but it's a huge, huge influence on how I write and just the energy and the message around it and stuff. But yeah, just funny when people kind of, they look at what you're a reggae guy, and it's like, I know, oh yeah, I listen to this and that, and then people are like, oh yeah, cool. So it's just funny. Yeah.
And I think, knowing that this space you're in now, if you can come into that space with Paulie and really trust, as you're saying, all his background and all his music, also his musical background, as a musician as well as a sound engineer, that you could just completely surrender into where the sounds go.
Yeah.
Exciting. That's exciting.
Yeah, that feels exciting. I think even on this first single, I kind of had a rough idea of how I sort of thought it would sound. And then when we got into the studio, it kind of just went down this other path.
Yeah.
That sort of really excited me. It was like what I was open to. And that's exactly how it kind of finished. So it was like, I can hear, the song kind of still has a foot in my last album, but it's also like, okay,
yes,
we're going here as well. So it's nice to be able to hear that in a song.
Yeah.
For me personally, when I listen to it. So, yeah, it's exciting to have that on the horizon, because that first single, I think, always, once you sort of get that out, it gives it that nice, you get that sort of push or that rush of energy that allows you to keep kind of flowing into the rest of the album.
And the graphics on the promotion for the new single coming out, was that an artist that you worked with, or where did that come about?
Yeah, so that's my brother, Jack.
Your brother?
My brother.
Oh, let's mention that. Yeah.
Yeah, he's done all my artwork for everything. So
incredible.
Since 2009, I did like a little DIY bedroom EP, and he did the cover for that, and we burnt all the CD. It was very DIY, old school, that first one.
Yeah.
And he was just starting to get into music design and stuff around then, so it was kind of like the perfect sort of launch for him as well, because then he's gone on to do some amazing stuff, like working with festivals and designing stuff for some pretty big Australian acts and stuff. So it's been great to see our careers kind of go alongside each other, because they kind of started literally around the same time with that first EP that I did. So it's been really cool.
Was this a brother that opened the opportunity for you to meet Ben Harper behind the stage?
Yes. So he was he did all the graphics for Queenscliff Music Festival. So he's done that over the years a few times. And that is what led to that Ben Harper meeting. So that was kind of cool as well, because it all just flowed back to that family kind of stuff. And yeah, every EP, every single, every poster, every kind of thing that I've done, he's been the man behind the magic. And that's been cool to keep that.
Is this an older brother or older brother?
Yeah. Jack's a few years older. And it's just been cool to have that consistency, I think, of quality art work and branding and stuff behind what I'm doing musically. That's been important. And I maybe one day, but I can't imagine not doing everything I do with him, just because we have such a good understanding, and
Yeah, it's fantastic graphic that he's, or artwork that he's done for the new single.
Yeah, because usually I'm not too particular about the art. I have a rough idea, but I'm always whereas this time around I kind of knew stylistically and branding, I thought this is where I want to go with it this time around. And I don't have to say too much most of the time. He'll just send back ideas, and 9 times out of 10 I'm like, that's it. It's just this like thing going on, obviously, like brothers or sisters, you know. And so that's really cool, because it's, you know, firstly you're working with family, so it's just a nice, you know, beautiful way to kind of do things. And secondly, I just never really have to be too particular, because he gets what he gets it. So that's really cool.
It feels like you're in an incredible space. You know, you have Paulie who supports you and gets you, and then your brother, you know, got all these incredible musicians around you. You're in a good supportive space. So I'm excited to see how it all unfolds.
Yeah, it's exciting. It's exciting times. Just that it almost feels that sort of calm before the storm of, you know, releasing stuff and getting into another album. You've got to have that little lull, I suppose.
Perhaps.
So it's nice to just like make the most of that, take some big breaths, and like get ready for that big sort of shift into releasing music again, and you know, fingers crossed, hopefully getting out there and touring again.
I believe you will. I see it.
Yeah, we'll see. I have no expectations now, which is kind of good, just to go with the flow.
It's a good place to be in, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you so much.
No, thank you.
I could keep talking to you, but
yeah.
Thank you so much for joining me on OneSpaceLove today.
Thank you, Steph. Thanks so much for having us.
My space, your space, your space, my space, our space. OneSpaceLove, OneSpaceLove, OneSpaceLove.